Ever look at your bank account at the end of the month and just think, man, I make a pretty decent salary, so why do I still feel completely broke? Listen, if that's you, I want to validate that frustration right out of the gate. It is incredibly common. But what if I told you that most middle-class earners aren't staying broke because they don't make enough money, but actually because they're caught up in a cycle of completely normalized financial habits? In today's Explainer, we're breaking down the 10 biggest money mistakes that are literally silently draining your net worth. These are everyday decisions, right? Things that seem perfectly normal because everybody around you is doing them, but they are secretly keeping you from building real, lasting wealth. So stick with me to the end because we're going to reveal the absolute biggest silent wealth killer that almost nobody talks about.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for the Explainer today. We're covering 4 main areas. First, the illusion of status. Second, debt and vulnerability. Third, the education gap. And finally, the ultimate wealth killers.
All right, part 1, the illusion of status and the trap of lifestyle inflation.
So this whole illusion is totally driven by lifestyle inflation. You know the drill. Every time you get a raise, it somehow instantly turns into an excuse for a nicer apartment or a fancier dinner out rather than actually going into your savings. And there is just this massive, stark contrast between the illusion of wealth and actual wealth. Social media puts immense pressure on us for what's called loud spending. Designer clothes, luxury cars, basically constantly broadcasting a high-end lifestyle. Now that's what looking rich is all about. But actually becoming rich, well, that is a whole different ballgame. The source material points out that many truly wealthy people do not spend their money trying to impress strangers on the internet. Instead, they do quiet investing. They intentionally keep their lifestyle way below their income. Turns out, appearances can be completely deceiving. Let's look at how this builds into one of the most common physical manifestations of this trap, the car sitting in your driveway. So many people finance these expensive vehicles simply because the monthly payment, technically, sort of, fits into their budget. But here's the brutal reality, guys. Cars are depreciating assets. They literally lose value the exact second you drive them off the lot. Dropping hundreds of dollars every single month on a luxury ride might impress the person in the lane next to you, for sure, but it is quietly stealing money that could have been compounding in an investment account for years.
I really want you to take this quote to heart and let it sink in for a second. Real wealth is what you keep, not what you show off. If you take absolutely nothing else away from this first part of our explainer, let it be this mindset shift. You have got to transition from an earning to spend mentality to an investing to build mentality. Think of it like this. Every dollar you keep and invest is like a little worker building your financial fortress. But every dollar you spend on status, it's just gone forever.
Moving on to part 2, debt and vulnerability. Basically, living without a safety net.
This brings us to 2 incredibly dangerous habits: carrying credit card debt and failing to have an emergency fund. Look, life is completely unpredictable. Job losses happen, medical bills pop up out of nowhere, the roof suddenly starts leaking and needs major repairs. These aren't just possibilities, you know? Over a long enough timeline, they are absolute guarantees. Without a solid 3 to 6 month emergency fund, you are basically walking a tightrope over a pit of financial disaster. And when you inevitably slip, you're forced to rely on credit cards and personal loans just to survive. And when you do fall off that tightrope, this is the number waiting to catch you at the bottom. And trust me, it is not a soft landing. 20%. That's the average annual interest rate on credit cards right now. Carrying a balance month after month is absolutely one of the fastest ways to stay poor. Just think about it. You are paying a 20% penalty every single year just for the privilege of holding on to yesterday's purchases. That expensive dinner out from 6 months ago? Well, if it's still on your card, you're still paying for it today. And it is costing you way, way more than the original price on the menu.
And this brilliantly illustrates why this debt is so toxic to your net worth. Let's look at the math here. A very good historical return on long-term investments might be around 8% annually, right? But your credit card debt? That thing is strapped to a rocket, growing at 20% every single year. The math is literally working against you at more than double the speed. High-interest debt will severely outpace your investment returns every single time. As the source material emphasizes, paying off high-interest debt is often the absolute best, highest return investment you could ever possibly make.
Okay, on to part 3, the education gap and learning about money.
Not having a solid grasp on financial literacy leaves you incredibly exposed to risk. I mean, think back to your time in school. We're all taught math, science, history, but how many of us were actually taught personal finance? Budgeting, taxes, wealth building, these are literal survival skills in the modern world. And yet most adults are just left to figure them out through stressful trial and error. But here's the empowering part. Financial education has literally never been more accessible than it is right now. You don't need a fancy economics degree. Just dedicating a few hours a month to reading, listening, or watching educational content like this exact explainer can completely change the trajectory of your financial future. You just have to actively seek this knowledge out if you want to escape that middle-class trap.
And one of the most important things you're going to learn through that financial education is the extreme danger of relying on a single paycheck. Having one income stream feels really secure, right up until the exact moment it vanishes because of a layoff or a company closure. That's exactly why financially successful people build diversified income streams. We're talking investments, side businesses, freelancing, rental properties, dividend stocks. If you lose one, you've got others there to keep you afloat. Relying completely on your boss for your entire financial survival is a major, though unfortunately entirely normal, mistake.
Which brings us to part 4, the ultimate wealth killers, and missing out on growth. Let's talk about mistake number 6, ignoring retirement investing just because it feels too far away. Just look at this timeline. If you start investing even small amounts in year 1, your money has literally decades to grow. But if you wait just 10 years to start, you are looking at a massive, almost insurmountable wealth gap by year 30. Why? Because you lost your greatest possible advantage in the game, time and compound interest. The earlier you begin, the less of your actual hard-earned paycheck you have to invest, simply because the compounding math does all the heavy lifting for you. Simply put, waiting is incredibly expensive.
So the crucial point is captured perfectly in this little quote right here: consistency beats perfect timing. This directly addresses mistake number 2, waiting for the perfect time to start. People always say, oh, I'll invest when I get a bigger raise, or when I finally pay off the car, or when the stock market looks a bit safer. Well, here's the secret. The perfect time rarely, if ever, actually arrives. Investing just a little bit every single month over many years is almost always going to outperform someone trying to perfectly predict the highs and lows of the market. The biggest mistake isn't investing at the wrong time, it is simply never getting started at all.
And here it is, the grand finale. The absolute biggest silent wealth killer of them all. Mistake number 1, not making your money work for you. Most middle-class earners spend their entire lives just trading their time for money. They work hard for every single dollar. But if your income completely stops the exact second you stop working or try to take a vacation, building lasting wealth becomes incredibly difficult. Truly wealthy people, they flip this dynamic entirely on its head.
They use what we call the ultimate wealth formula. Step 1, sure, yes, work hard for your money initially. But step 2 is where the magic actually happens. You invest in assets like index funds, dividend stocks, or real estate. And then step 3, you let your money generate income for you while you are fast asleep. This is the ultimate mindset shift. You're no longer just earning a salary. You are actively building an army of assets that go to work for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and hey, they never ask for a sick day. That right there is when true financial freedom begins.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I really want you to remember this core message from our source material. Becoming wealthy isn't about having some rich uncle, winning the lottery, or even magically landing a massive 6-figure salary overnight. It's so much more practical than that. It is simply about avoiding these 10 financial mistakes that quietly, secretly drain your future year after year. It's about living below your means, avoiding toxic bad debt, educating yourself, and putting your money to work.
So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Which of these 10 normal mistakes surprised you the most? Take a minute to reflect on your own habits, try to identify those silent drains in your own life, and start making changes today. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, go put that money to work.